your connection. Seattle's a place I've always wanted to come to because it's just got this unusual story of a number of billionaires that moved here and created their billions as a result of being in this little city of less than 1 million people. So what happened and what can we learn from it? Well, if we go back like 100 years ago, we'll find that there's a connection between what at that point was the beginning of the airline industry, what then became the beginning of the computer industry and even the internet. And it all links back to this town, Seattle, up in the north part of North America. Here's like all the planes out here at the moment, and as you can see, we've got a lot of the Air Alaska planes. And 100 years ago, these planes were all made of wood, right? There weren't that many of them. A guy called William Boeing, who was in the timber industry, which is one of the biggest industries here in Seattle, because it's right at the mouth of the Columbia River, he decided to buy himself one of the very first airplanes, which was a seaplane. And then he crashed it, which wasn't so good. But when he did, he realized the cost of replacing it was so high, he might as well just go out and get his own plane, or get his own plane company, which is what he did. He created Boeing, and Boeing basically went through the next 100 years building itself to be one of the biggest airline companies now in the world, worth over $90 billion. Now, what's so interesting about this wasn't so much just that he started it, because lots of other people had the same idea at the time, is the fact that he realized that his real upstream was the fact that he had the entire timber industry right here in Seattle. So when things went horribly wrong at the end of World War I and all of the plane manufacturers that had started were going bust, he continued not by selling planes, but by selling furniture, by selling boats, things made of wood, because he realized that his real power was the fact that he had connection to his upstream, which is where the wood was coming from, and then could connect it to his downstream. And then when the airline industry took off again, he took off with it as well. Let's take another example, which is almost exactly the same, but now with computers, or personal computers. And this is Bill Gates. So this is only 40 years ago now, 1975. And Bill Gates, basically with Paul Allen, was tinkering around, just like Boeing did with planes, but with personal computers. And he said, well, how can we turn this into a business? So at that point, you didn't have individuals buying that many personal computers. So he went out and found one of the big companies, which was IBM, and said to IBM, hey, we could actually deliver to you your operating system. And think about like your downstream. Who's your biggest customer? Who's the best person you can serve? And then when they said, yes, that's what we want, he went to his upstream, which was someone who could deliver it for him. And he found that person in Tim Patterson, who was where? Seattle. And Tim Patterson had a company which was called Seattle Computer Products. So Microsoft bought from Seattle Computer Products for $25,000 the entire system that became MS-DOS. And of course, as part of that process, Bill Gates got kind of curious, like, why did this company manage to actually work out how to do all of this before anyone else? He came up to Seattle and he realized it's because all the technicians, the Boeing technicians that were here in Seattle, a lot of them were moving into the computer industry. So he goes, great, I will now go out and create my business from Seattle as well. So he created Microsoft, which Microsoft then actually has its base even today in Redmond, Washington, just outside of Seattle. And it also is now a $90 billion business. So two examples. Let's talk about a third example. This one is only 20 years ago now. Jeff Bezos. Jeff, same thing happened to him. He was on the East Coast. He's thinking, what's the industry I really want to serve, right? The internet industries I want to get into. Put a list of all the things that he could sell, wrote them down, decided he was going to sell books. So he said, where could I go that would be the very best place for me to start this business? When he saw Seattle had all of the Microsoft engineers, it had all the technicians, and it was right next to Oregon, which had the biggest book distributor in America. He goes, that's where I'm going. Packed all the stuff, stuck it in the car, drove to Seattle, cross country, and now today Amazon has gone out and revolutionized the entire online shopping industry. And that leads to our fourth billionaire story, which is Howard Schultz. And Howard Schultz, who actually at the time was working for Xerox about 25 years ago, he decided that he was going to go change industry because paper wasn't where it was at anymore. He found a coffee making company that he was going to actually sell through instead. He joined that company. And as he went out knocking on doors, he found that there was a company in Seattle called Starbucks that was doing better than all the other ones. He came, found it, got excited about what they were doing, ended up buying the company. And today Starbucks is pretty much on every street corner, again with its headquarters right here in Seattle. What's your Seattle? Where is it? Anywhere in the world where you're connecting your upstream, which is where all the value that you need to be able to deliver is coming from, and then your downstream, which is your market that you're going to be serving. it's almost, think about it, money is always going to flow in the opposite direction of value, and either you're going to have to create all the value yourself, or you can simply find that river where there's already value flowing, and you can connect it to the flow of the market that you want to serve as well. And that really, for me, is one of the biggest lessons about what I see when I come to a place like Seattle, is just the fact that when you actually are at the mouth of a river, when you're at an airport, when you're at a point where there's multiple connections, it transforms your own thinking of the abundance of flow that happens every single day. So with that being said, I want to share with you now, there's a lot of kind of like boisterous energy around here as well. I want to share that there is a winner to our prize from the other week that I put a little pin somewhere in the road. You wrote down your country, your city, and the pin I put actually happened to be on the North Pole. I thought maybe someone from Scotland or Canada would win. It was actually one of our viewers from Alaska. So congratulations, and you will find down below the link and what to do next so that you can claim your VIP Fast Forward event ticket. And with that being said, we have some super exciting things coming up in the coming weeks. I'm going to some places you're going to be seeing that are the first place I've ever been there. I'm going down to Galapagos, I'm going down to Ecuador, and a place in New Mexico called the Earthstrip Academy with my family. You're going to see a little bit about those places in the upcoming videos. And what is the most important thing of all is in the coming weeks, we have got the launch of our Wealth Dynamics and Talent Dynamics 3.0, plus something super special I'm going to talk about in the next video, which is our iLab Global Impact Awards 2015, which we would love you to be a part of. So stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed. Think about where is your connections? Where do you need to be in the world for your industry to connect the biggest upstream with the biggest downstream? And we'll catch up with you again on the next video.